need to apply for the job.
Welcome. Recording is on. Thanks for that, Tim. Welcome, amazing agents from across the country. Today is Thursday, August 8th, 2019, and this is Mastermind call number 239. A couple things before we get started. Ed Flynn, congratulations, our winner of the week. He had a few great deals. The other thing I wanted to mention, we keep saying this, but I think it was by far our best role play call yesterday. I think we had 6 people that stepped up, and half of them were willing to be the agent, and one of them was just extraordinary. Honestly, he could. I think, Chad, you may have some help teaching mastery. He did a really, really nice job. We also had a couple of wins. We asked the people to please come back this week and share with the group. But if you haven't had a chance, that would be role play call number 45. You can just, look in our archives, or you can just go to our website, put role play call 45 in there. We really, really recommend, if any of you are getting started, don't feel comfortable making the calls, or even if you're making them and you want to get better, really, really good call. I encourage you to listen to it. Partners, anything you want to add before we get started?
The only thing I was going to add is that I'm sorry that you didn't like my music. That was hurtful, but other than that, no, I'm good.
No problem. Chad, anything you want to go over? I'm sure we're going to be getting calls about wins the next mastery, but we probably don't have that scheduled yet.
It's on my calendar to schedule today. I haven't picked the dates. It will be probably the second week of August.
Okay, perfect.
Or next week.
Yep, exactly. We have 2 people in the queue, guys. We got up to an hour to spend with you, and please don't wait till the last minute to sign in. Nothing is out of bounds on these calls as long as your language is good. We had a hysterical role play yesterday. The lady played 2 roles. We gave her an Oscar for dual performance in a role play call, so that was really good. She changed her voice when she was playing the 2 different roles. So just for the entertainment value, you should go there and listen. But please sign in, participate, guys. *6 and then hit 1. And I guess we'll go to our first caller then. First up is phone number ending in 0500. You're up next.
Hi, this is Chris. Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, Chris. What's up?
Hey,
how you doing?
First of all, I just appreciate you guys, the value you guys bring. I'm a newbie to all of this real estate stuff, and I had just a quick basic question. I've heard Chad mention the cash offer and the as-is offer. What's the difference in those 2?
Typically, so what I mean by cash is that's kind of wholesale off-market. And as is, where is kind of my terminology for just putting a house on MLS, doing nothing to it, but not accepting any contingencies. So it's, we kind of, in my business, we call those wholetails. So we're using a retail outlet to wholesale a property, and we nicknamed them wholesale properties. But so if you just put it on MLS in its current condition, and you're pretty much shutting out conventional buyers because of inspections and repairs. But you can typically get 70 to 80 cents on the dollar. And your most typical buyers there are either landlords or first-time home buyers who have saved up, some cash to rehab a home because they're, value conscious.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was thinking in my mind, isn't that the same thing? But as I continue to hear you say it, I know it's not. I just wanted to make sure I had the details of the difference, and that helps.
Sure.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, you're very welcome. Only 2 more in the queue, guys. Please sign in now. Don't make me beg. Hit *6 and then hit 1. Next up is phone number ending in 2455. You're up next.
This is Anthony. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Good. I'm still out here, I guess, procrastinating, but still questioning the market, if you will. Trying to determine if the market is ripe now for the business, or just is the economy have any effect on it, or just what is the state of the business right now? I'm thinking of plunging in this month, and I'm just trying to confirm whether it would be advantageous for me getting additional listings, to close more deals, etc.
So what do you believe is the largest problem facing the U.S. housing market right now?
I would imagine able to secure listings. I mean, what is it to, I know there's a lot of competition.
For consumers, not for us.
Oh, for consumers, whether the timing is right to sell their property. I mean, is it time to sell a property because I know there's low inventory? Yes. The interest rates are good. Yes. But are there buyers who are actively engaged in looking and buying properties at this point in time? I just came from a meeting, and some agents are having difficulty getting listings. People are being pulled in several different directions by realtors and not asset managers, but attorneys, like probate attorneys, etc. And so I'm saying, if there's that much competition that I've still got to deal with, then what is the value in investing in a membership, and what's the return on my investment going to be?
Sure, good question. So, in my opinion, and I think most industry analysts would agree with me, the biggest problem in U.S. housing is the affordable housing bandwidth. There's such a lack of inventory. The banks overreacted and the government overreacted in 2008, which pulled lines of credit from builders of affordable housing, and they didn't have any operating capital. So that we're now paying the price for that. You have a lack of inventory in a certain price range, which is that median plus or minus 50% in most markets, and there's just not that many homes to choose from. So with probate, most of the homes in probate are going to be a little bit older. They have some deferred maintenance, and they're going to be, most of them will sell somewhere between 80 and 90 cents on the dollar retail. So they're great affordable listings, and pretty much all of my probates went to either a landlord or a first-time home buyer that had been smart with their money and they had some cash to do the rehab, or they used some sort of a rehab loan. But this is great inventory. Like, days on market for me is around 94 days on the market. My probate listings, every single one of them is 8 days. And that's only because I list on a Thursday evening, I call for offers and review the following Friday, 8 days later. I ratify it. With the exception of one listing, which is a condo that was heavily smoked in, I've sold every probate house in 8 days. And I don't look at offers until that 8th day because it creates the urgency among the buyer's agents. So if you need listings, this is the best, in my opinion, the best source of conventional affordable listings that you can find right now, and you certainly have the least competition. Your sellers are not going to be nearly as price sensitive. They're realistic. When you show them confidence and leadership, they respond, and almost never will you have a price confrontation or disagreement with a probate seller. So these are listings you can get priced correctly, get on the market, get sold quickly, and if they're going to landlords, oftentimes that's with no contingencies and 15 to 30-day closings. If they're going to first-time home buyers, you're looking at probably a 45-day closing, and you can list them as is, whereas, and still find those buyers because they have such a lack of inventory. So that's kind of why I think probate is the right place to be fishing for listings that will sell, not listings that will sit. Now, the bigger picture is between now and 2060, we will lose about 86 million people from the baby boomer generation. They hold 70% of the wealth in the United States, and 80% of that wealth is locked up in real property. So they have massive wealth, but hardly any liquidity. The average senior citizen right now has a savings account. Their net value of their liquidity is $26,000. That's it. These are people that are 65 and older. So when something happens, when they have a change in health, or they have one spouse dies, a lot of times they're forced to liquidate the assets in order to continue and find more suitable living situations. So the point I'm making, in the next 40 years, over the next 40 to 45 years, you're going to see an exponential growth curve in the opportunity in this space. This is the beginning. And they're kind of dark statistics, but it's something we're all going to have to face at some point. Nobody on this call will make it out alive. So this creates, the lack of liquidity creates a lot of urgency in the families because they don't know what to do. They don't understand the conversation that we have here. We know how to unlock equity and get it into the bank so they can settle the liabilities and move forward like with what they've been tasked with. It's not that simple to them. So there's a huge opportunity to step up and put your flag in the sand. And I tell people this on Mastery. I guarantee you, if you don't put your flag in the sand first in your market, it's just a matter of weeks or months until somebody does. And we have folks that are abandoning all their other listing channels just to do this, as I did. I talked to a gentleman yesterday. He's like, I just quit doing everything else. It makes no sense. So that's the opportunity over the rest of your career. As far as an ROI, most of our subscribers on the brokerage side, investment's even higher than this. Right. But on the brokerage side, if you're converting at 2%, like if you get 2 listings out of every 100 leads and you're in a normal median price range, then you should be seeing an ROI in excess of 2,000%. Like for me, my market median is only about 160 now. My probate median is 117. So these homes are, like I said, they're older. They have deferred maintenance. They're typically in good, sound condition. They just, they need rehab. Okay. But even at those numbers, even at 117,000, I was spending $1,100 on leads and mail to put $21,000 in gross commission through the door every single month. And that didn't include my wholesale stuff. I ran that through a separate business, but at strictly brokerage, I could turn 11 grand into 21 grand every month on $117,000 listings. So most people on this call, your median's 3 times what mine is. So your results are going to be, you'll work, do the same amount of work for 3 times more revenue. So hopefully that helps.
That helps, my friend. Thank you very much for a good explanation. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 4 more in the queue, guys. We'll leave the queue open for another 10 or 15 minutes. Just hit *6 and then hit 1. Next up is phone number ending in 5952. You're up next.
Yeah, hi. I'm from Southern California, and this message is for Chad. I did leave you, I sent you an email the other day, and the reason I was calling, I want to, you answered one of my questions just now with the other guy saying that perhaps it's a good idea just to focus on probate, because I'm a real estate agent, just to focus on probate alone, kind of like instead of dabbling in other things. But the question I wanted to ask you, because I know like when we're prospecting for, each individual probate, it's coming one at a time. And I know that the key may be to go after attorneys, okay? Yet there's some kind of reluctance on somebody my part, of rejection. And I was wondering, when you were active or generally, what kind of suggestion would you give to somebody to go after attorneys?
Okay. So this is Soji, right?
Yep.
I haven't heard from you for a while. Welcome back.
How did you know that was Soji? You must be psychic.
No, I'm always on the call. I just know
you are, and you have a very distinctive voice. I'm just giving you a hard time. Good to hear from you. You're welcome.
Okay.
Sure.
So, Soji, I think my best answer to you is to point you to a video I did with a probate attorney last week. It's an hour-long conversation of how we can provide value to the attorneys. But also, I want to remind you, if you go to alltheleads.com, in the top right, you'll see a global search bar. If you put in the word attorney or attorneys, you're going to see a lot of conversations. You're going to hear a lot of conversations, and you'll see a lot of content that we've put out on this conversation. So there are role plays, there are mastermind conversations, there's that hour-long video that I did with the attorney. There's another video that I did, 2 or 3 years ago that basically says the exact same thing as the attorney, but it's coming from me, not from the actual, industry expert. So there's a ton of resources out there for you to kind of sharpen your axe. But in a nutshell, you want to help the attorneys understand that you're offering value. You're not asking for referrals. And the people that get the door slammed in their face are the ones that come in with a selfish offer. And they're saying, I buy houses, I list houses, I'm the best in the neighborhood. And that doesn't mean anything to the attorneys. It's laughable. They make fun of those people. But when you walk in there assertively and confidently and say, listen, I've created a business that picks up where yours leaves off, and I see you guys are doing X number of files a month, we really need to know each other. Let's chat for 5 minutes. You've got their full attention. And when you walk in and you offer to bring them business, you offer to help them market because of the solicitation laws for attorneys, they're not allowed to directly solicit. So if you can become a referral stream for them, then they'll reciprocate and they'll send you referrals. You can do that. Some of the ideas you'll hear us throw around are go through your past clients, sphere of influence, whatever group of people. If they don't have an estate plan, they're going to lose money and their family's going to be in a really stressful situation. So you can improve their life by giving them an opportunity to sit down with a family law attorney, which just so happens to be the probate attorney that you're trying to introduce yourself to. So because they can't direct market to that person, if you can bring them to them, you've done them a solid. And that person, your client or your family member, they're going to pay $1,500 to $2,000 for a living trust or a couple $100 for a will versus 5% of the gross value of their gross net worth if they have to go through probate. And so you can provide a ton of value for your clients and your sphere of influence, a ton of value to the attorney, and you'll get a lot of value in return by leading with value. But that's kind of the gist of it. But I would encourage you today, spend a little bit of time, go to that search bar in the top right, put in attorney, and immerse yourself in it. I think you'll get the courage you need to get out there and do it.
Okay. And, when you were active, like how often did you go out, soliciting attorneys?
So I've only done this as a coach. In my market, it's one of the probably like single-digit percentages where we don't use probate attorneys. So from about Richmond west in Virginia, we just don't use probate attorneys. I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of these, and I've never had a single case with an attorney attached to it. And the probate clerk laughs when I ask her. She's like, well, why do we need an attorney? I tell them what to do. So my experience has been helping you guys get your foot in the door and working with attorneys. And quite frankly, California is where I have the most experience, and that's the toughest state because it's fiercely competitive. There's tons of attorneys, and they're getting a lot of those selfish one-sided offers. So they've built up this facade that it's pretty hard to get through. So my experience has been in working one-on-one with you guys, helping you get in the door with other attorneys. And the video that I did with John kind of validated the methodology. He's like, yes, that's valuable. Everything that your folks are doing. And I've talked to several other probate attorneys that you guys have connected with, and they'll tell you, I've never met another real estate professional that offers anything close to what your guys are offering. So I don't have a lot of firsthand experience in Virginia, but I do have a lot in lots of other states helping you guys get in the door.
So you think maybe going once a week, after attorneys might be a good idea, or twice a week? What do you think?
So you want to make it systematic.
Yeah.
And what I would recommend is go to your calendar and put in a block, and that's whatever you think you can realistically do. Your best shot is midweek, midday, so look at like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 1 to 4 is your best chance of catching them in the office. You're not going to catch them in the office every time. Attorneys are very busy people, but your best chance is midweek, midday. So you may just say every Wednesday from 1 to 4, I'm in the car visiting no less than 3 attorneys. And that goes on your calendar, and give yourself a penalty if you don't do it. I have publicly coached thousands of people to go try this, but personally challenged several hundred, and I can count on 2 hands the people that have actually done it correctly and have built that network. And guess what? Those are the ones that have 7 digits on their tax returns because they're supplementing. They don't quit marketing. They continue to market to the personal representatives, but they get supplemental business from the referrals. And when you ran through all the attorneys, then I'm going to send you to nursing homes, and then I'm going to send you to social workers, and then I'm going to send you to CPAs, then I'm going to send you to wealth advisors. anyone who has contact with folks in the late period of life, when they're feeling stressed or they have to make moves, you should approach them the same way you do the attorneys. And if you build a referral network in 6 different industries providing this level of value, your biggest problem is going to be getting signs printed, buying more lock boxes, and who the hell is going to handle all these listings for me? So if you dedicate yourself and you do what your calendar tells you to and you commit to it, you'll retire from this, I promise.
Yeah. One more question, Chad. Do you give private coaching?
We don't have anything organized. If you want to discuss it, you can.
Something maybe I can pay you for, to do private coaching beyond this mastermind group.
Yeah, so email me, Chad, at all the leads, and we'll discuss it. I don't really have a formal coaching program other than what we give away here for free. But email me and I'll give you a call. We'll talk about it.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay.
Jim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah, you're back now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I could hear myself, but you guys couldn't. All right, well, we have 4 more in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 8564. You're up next.
Yes, good afternoon. Thurman Cohen here from New Jersey. How you doing today?
Doing great. What's new in New Jersey?
Well, I got a couple of calls. I just got my first batch of leads in and was out at a convention last week, so I'm beginning to make my calls now. So I got a series of questions for you guys. The first couple of ones I've gotten were, I didn't get any response. I called theirs and no one answered. So do you recommend leaving voicemail messages? And if so, what should that message be?
It depends on the frequency of your calls. If you're calling every day, leave a voicemail the first time and then let it go. If you're calling once a month, leave a voicemail each month. So it's, just use your head. Like if you're really aggressive on the phone, you don't want to stack up the same voicemail 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, right? I would say at a minimum, voicemail frequency should be twice a month at most, just because, people are getting bombarded and the more aggressive you are in leaving voicemail, sometimes that can backfire on you. Where if they just see a missed call, they're probably not going to memorize your number.
Okay.
As far as the message, No, go ahead.
No, the message.
So the message, and I've tested dozens of these. The best return rate I ever got was, "Hey, this is Chad. I sent you a letter last week. Had a couple seconds in the office today. Just wanted to follow up and make sure you got it and you understood why we sent it. Give me a call at 555-1234." And the idea is to remove all labels from, do not title yourself. You just be you. Don't try to sell over the phone. And ask me how I know. I've learned this the hard way. The less information you give, the more curiosity there will be, and the more callbacks you'll have. A lot of times that message will drive them to the letter. They'll match the letter up with the name. They'll read the letter, and then they'll call back. So I got about a 2% callback rate with that message. I've had 2 people this week actually tell me the exact same thing. They're tracking about 2% since they changed up their voicemail, because we talked about this I think a couple weeks ago on a mastermind. But other people are kind of reporting the same response rate, around 2% on that type of message, where pretty much every other message I've ever tried was more like 0%.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so you give us a list of phone numbers. So should you call all of them and leave that same voicemail message with all of them?
I do, and I was really nervous about that in the beginning. Shockingly, I've never had anybody bring it up. They've never said, "Why did you leave me 5 of the same voicemail?" No one even mentions it. When they call back, we just start talking, and they never have. I've never had one person say that.
Okay. Now, one of the ones that I got was William Henry. And I know the building, it was the senior building, and the PR also lives in the senior building. So I'm pretty sure that there are no real estate because you can't have it and live in the senior building. So should I call them anyway?
Yeah, so most states will exempt you from probate if your overall estate is worth less than $100,000. In some states it's 125, 150. But it's pretty safe to assume they have at least $100,000 in assets in some form. Maybe it's a stock portfolio, maybe it's an RV, maybe it is real estate that's held in trust or something. You don't know. And that's why the best way to scrub this list is not through deduction of a spreadsheet, but it's through prospecting on the phone. So pick up the phone, focus on people and situation, and then figure out how to monetize it. And maybe you can't directly monetize it, but you turn it into a referral. That sounds like you've got a surviving spouse situation. So she's on a fixed income, which was just cut in half, and she may need more suitable housing. She may need to move from that facility. So having contacts with social workers, senior moving companies, nursing homes, or assisted living facilities, that's a good example of how you could step in and provide value to that person. And who knows how that's going to come back to you. I mean, we have folks, I think it was just last week, it might have been the win of the week caller, but the listings that he took weren't even associated with the probate. But it's when you provide this level of service to the community, they want to reward you. They'll go out of their way to give that letter to somebody else, like that story. They didn't have any real estate in the estate. They handed the letter to a neighbor, or I don't remember the relationship, but somebody close to them, and they got the deal from them. So if you can help a surviving spouse get into a better situation, save money, make the most of what they have, reinvest that so you can create you can supplement their income with whatever inheritance or life insurance that they just received rather than taking it as a lump sum. Just use your head, but focus on people and situation. And once you understand their problems, that'll be your roadmap for service. Just put it together and just take away their problems.
All right. So if you know that the property has been already listed or has already been sold, I should still make that contact with that personal rep.
If you really want to get the most out of this, yes. It's a 5-minute conversation. You make contact. You offer to set them up with your financial team and your estate planning team. And say, listen, I'm glad you guys got most everything handled. One of the things that I see where everybody else lets off the gas, the attorneys, the realtors, anyone who helps families, is they don't help them avoid this for the future generation. So we try to make it a point for everyone we can make contact with to sit down with our team so they can see what their options are for investing the inheritance distribution, what their options are for avoiding probate in the future. But it's usually way cheaper for families to set up a comprehensive estate plan than it is to go through probate, and it's certainly a lot less stressful on the survivors. So is that something you'd like to have the opportunity to do? And if they say yes, set them up, and you've created a really good referral for your referral partner, and he will reciprocate by handing you a deal on a silver platter, probably in the next few months.
How do you establish an all-cash offer? I know some investors go, 65% of the ARV minus the rehab cost.
So there's two schools. There's the traditional formula is set like ARV, which is after repair value, and that basically just means top retail value if it was in pristine condition on MLS. So you take ARV times 70% minus repairs minus what money you want to make, and that's a typical wholesale formula. The buyer is looking for 70% minus repairs, but if you're going to wholesale it, you need to build in your, what profit you want to make for your assignment fee. The problem with that method is not very many people are as good as they think they are at estimating construction costs. So if you go in and say, $40,000 in repairs, 70 times 70% minus 40,000 equals X, I want to make 5. And then the real repair costs are $65,000 because you missed the crack in the foundation or the chimney crown that was bust apart and the whole chimney that needed repointed. Like if you underestimate repairs, then your whole deal's shot. Now you have to go back to the seller and renegotiate a contract based on your own ignorance. You created a situation because you underestimated the repair cost. I find for those of you, if you're new to the business or if you're not really well versed in construction estimates, that there's a safer formula. If you just take the as-is value in its current condition, and my rule of thumb for this is if I put it on MLS today, at what price will it be fully ratified and in escrow in less than 7 days? And to me, that's an as-is value. Other people may have other opinions, but if I can sell a house in a week on MLS and with no contingencies, I think that's fair to say that's what it was worth. So you simply take that times 75% and then whatever you want to make. And I've tested this on lots and lots of different assets, even full portfolios of rental of houses, and it's always within a couple percent. But what it does, it kind of alleviates the chance that you're going to miscalculate construction costs and burn credibility with your buyer's list or the seller or both. So as is value times 75% minus what you want to make on the deal.
Okay, cool. Thank you much.
Thank you. This next phone number sounds very familiar. I love it. It says Testing Hero, phone number 2686. Where'd that name come from?
What was
He's
it?
not committed to being a hero, only trying it out.
Your caller ID says Hero, H-E-R-R-O.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, you were my hero. I know who this is. How you doing? You told a great story on the call yesterday. How's it going?
Yes, sir. You said to call back, so I'll.
Yeah, please share with the group. Thank you.
Yeah, we were talking to a family, and it was really obvious that they were very bottom line oriented on what they netted. Right. They didn't care who they sold it to as long as they netted the most amount of money. So he was. We were blessed that he actually told us some investor offers that came in, and we were telling him, like, man, that's pretty low. I said, we can get you more than that. And so we looked at his property and basically said, look, if you came in and if you have the ability, came in and painted the inside and clean the inside, because it was empty by that time, then we can net you tens of thousands more. And so he wanted to do that, and they had the money, so they did that. And the bottom line is we ended up netting them $30,000 more than their last highest offer. So they were very thankful over that, because they spend 5, they net 30, 4 or 5,000, whatever it was. They netted 30, and so. Anyway, so now we're taking that story and running with it because, as you know, it's great to tell a story to people you're talking to, and that's our theme as we're talking to the personal reps or personal administrators is, hey, we help people net, more money than you would, obviously getting the offers out there. So it perks them up. It makes them listen. They want to know more. And so that's been going great, and so we're just riding on that right now and doing the best we can.
Appreciate you sharing again, Chad. I know you had a suggestion for him to take that story, right? And what'd you tell him to do with it?
For anybody who wasn't on the role play call yesterday, my suggestion was add this to edit his PS line at the bottom of the letter, and say, P.S. If this sounds too good to be true, flip this letter over to hear a story from the last family I helped, or something along those lines. But do a 2-sided letter or a 2-page letter, and just throw the summary of that in with your marketing, and you should be weave it into your phone calls. I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Smith. That's actually what Mr. Jones thought, and just last month we put an extra $30,000 in equity in the estate. So would you like to find out before you sign that offer that's on the table, wouldn't you at least like to know what's possible through other professionals, or do you just want to blindly sign that and hope you got the best offer? And you can start to roll those stories into your language on the phones, and the more you get, the more nimble you'll be, the more situations you'll have a story for. But for anyone who's got these under their belt, that's one of the questions I always ask when people say, they're struggling or they're not confident on the phones. I'm like, how many of these have you done? Because you need to be going back to those archives and pulling those stories and using them as examples for other people who are in uncharted territory. You can kind of validate the way they feel, point back to someone else who felt the same way, and show them that they found your service to be the absolute best solution they could have ever found.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you sharing. And right now, you're in first place for the winner of the week. Thanks for thanks for sharing. Anything else you want to add?
That also leads me into a question.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. The question is basically kind of what Chad was saying at the very end. So trying to lead into getting an appointment. And that's kind of our weak area, if you will. When we're talking to people, they sound interested in all these things, but you know how it is. It rarely are they ready today. And so they've always got some reason why they're not ready to meet. But that's kind of our weak area. I wonder if you can give some suggestions on getting appointments.
So that's where most people struggle with this is they let off the gas when they hear an objection, when they should be asking another question or sharing one of those stories. So the most common example is, the stuff we role play in Mastery, like, well, Kevin, we got to get this house cleaned out, and it's just, we've got all this stuff coming up. It's probably be September before we can all fly down there and actually get it taken care of. So why don't you just call us back in the second week of September? So as an example, I would be like, okay, they're out of town. They got a house full of stuff. They're stuck in probate quicksand. They're procrastinating. They've got carrying costs. They have maintenance issues. So how can what's my reason for getting to the house? And I can say, listen, we help a lot of families through this. I would say 8 out of the last 10 that we spoke to and we're helping had the same apprehension that you do. What they found is once we got to the house and valued the personal property, they saw how we could turn that money into construction money to get the house in better shape, get it on the market, get it sold quicker for top dollar, and net, they saved thousands of dollars by not waiting 2 or 3 months to do what they knew right then they should do, but they just weren't ready. And I get your position. It's intimidating, and you don't do this every day, but we do. So at most, your biggest risk here is having me go over to the house, take a look, take a video, and set up an appointment with you and anyone else you feel like should be part of the conversation. And I'll give you my professional opinion, as someone who does this every day, what I think is your best course of action. If you're still apprehensive, then we'll wait till September. But I think you're going to find that you're going to retain a lot more equity in the estate if we get started now versus get started in September. And the great side effect is I'll be doing the work instead of you. So is there somebody in the neighborhood that has a key to the property? I can be over there on Friday at 9 a.m. Does that work? And it's just one example of a million. It just depends on where the conversation goes. But you in the back of your mind, you need to keep your outcome in mind. Your outcome is a face-to-face appointment. In that scenario, they were out of town, so your outcome became get to the house and understand the picture, see it with your own eyes, and then come back and do a virtual appointment with them. But you need to remember the point of a phone call, a prospecting call, is not to do business. It's not to get a listing. It's not to buy a house. It's to get in front of that person, period. And the reason I say that so often is it shifts. It's kind of a perspective shift. So you're not aiming out at a 1,000-yard target of getting the listing. You're at the 50-meter target where all you have to do is get over to 123 Walnut Street with them there. And once they meet you and they see that your intentions are good, it's done. Like you're hired or you're buying the house. So just keep that in mind, and it'll help you spot opportunities and reasons you need to be at the house or you need to be in front of them, and you can back it up with stories as well.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Keep coming back with the stories. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. We have 3 more in the queue. We probably have time for more, guys. If you want to hop in, hit *6 and then hit 1. Next up is phone number ending in 7850. You're up next.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking to get into this, but I have a lot of investors that are looking to purchase properties. How do I vet those investors? And then secondly, how do I vet good service providers such as haulers, to empty out the house, and that type of individuals?
So you say you have investors. How did you how did you meet those folks, and what have you talked about so far? Did you buy a list or what?
No, they consistently call me in regards to listings that I currently have.
Okay. So one of the first thing that I did, in my history, I moved from Hawaii to Virginia to a town where I knew nobody. And the first thing that I did was get to know every real estate investor in town. And as I was chatting with them, I was taking mental notes. And as soon as the conversation was over, I would just, write everything down. And basically, I ended up building it into my CRM where every investor had a tag. And I was actually talking to a really successful wholesaler last night, and the reason he's so successful is he's only sending relevant deals to the right people. So for example, if I was speaking with a landlord, I would find out how do they value their rental property. Are they looking at a gross rent multiplier, a net dollar amount per door? Are they just using the simple cap rate? And what I found is 90% of them didn't know how they were valuing their assets. They were running their whole business based on intuition. But just say, okay, let's talk about the last 3 that you bought. What's the cash flow? Like if it's a landlord. And you can create your own tagging system. But the reason I recommend you do this, like you need to go back through and speak to every one of those investors. Buy them a cup of coffee, meet them in person if you can. Make it a real relationship. And your objective is to find out what they believe a deal is. And it's amazing. Like I've sold to, men in their 80s, 70s and 80s that will buy will buy houses at 90 cents on the dollar that I wouldn't touch for anywhere near that price. But for them, they want a nice house in a nice neighborhood, and they think a 6 cap is great because that's better than what their CDs are returning. And that's fine. The market needs those types of buyers. So that's a person you can send almost every probate listing to, where if you're sitting down with a wholesaler and they're trying to make a $10,000 spread on every deal, you got to be buying at 60 cents on the dollar to be able to sell a deal to that person. So you don't want to put the stuff at 80 and 90 cents on the dollar through to your wholesalers because you're going to lose credibility. But you do want to put the ones that really fit their buyer profile. You want to put those through. So what I ended up doing was tagging them all in the database, so I could sort them out. And then when I would get a deal, if it was, I had landlord, rehabber, portfolio buyer, commercial, notes, short sales, like I had different tags. And some of them would obviously have more than one. But when I had a short sale, I knew exactly who I needed to send it to. It was the investors who had a long-term approach. They were playing the long game. They didn't mind waiting 6 months, and they wouldn't discount my credibility because I sent them a short sale that would take 6 months to close. If I send that to a wholesaler, he's going to be like, what the hell? This guy doesn't know what a deal is. So just get to know your investors at a real professional relationship level. Find out what do they believe is a good deal. The next thing is, what is their finance strategy? Do they have their own cash? Are they doing like the cash out refi model and pyramiding that with debt? Are they using private money? Or are they like most people and they don't really have a finance strategy, which means they get knocked down on the list as a prospect, not a cash buyer. So find out how they value assets, what their finance strategy is, and then you'll know exactly what a deal looks like to them and how it can be funded. You'll also spot opportunities if you have investors who aren't capitalized, who don't know how to raise private money. You go out, sell a probate house at the closing table while the attorney's there. You show the seller how they can take the proceeds from the sale and turn that into private money to loan to your investor so he can go buy the next deal. You're going to get the buy side. You just closed one transaction. You'll get the buy side on the next one. Your seller that just closed becomes the lender. Your buyer flips the house. You become the listing agent. You sell it again, and you rinse and repeat. And you can create just a web of transactions just by using your head and understanding all the needs and the challenges of all parties.
Now, do you have that information on one of your mastermind calls?
It's something we do in Probate Mastery, our course. We talk about this in session 2, like everything you can do from, brokerage or investment, and the full spectrum of everything you can do to help these people and monetize it. But that's the only place that I really have that in long form.
Okay. How do you vet your vendors?
So that's also something else we cover in Mastery. I show you kind of each spoke in the wheel that you should have and at least 2 ways to find them. And I have kind of a different trick for each one. It's about a 35 minute explanation. But there's different tricks that I use and different resources that I use to find each one. But ultimately, like as kind of a general across every vendor, you want people who have similar values to you. So you probably are here because you have a kind of a provide value first mindset. Otherwise, you would think that everything I talked about was a bunch of useless psychobabble and you just need to get their money in your pocket. That's not really the crowd we have here. So like if you can show them that if they have similar values to you where they don't mind doing the work up front and getting paid on the back, they don't mind slowing down and taking time with a surviving spouse. They don't mind, getting paid 90 days later. Those are great vendors to have. So for example, a contractor who has deep cash reserves, they can carry an invoice and add 10% to it. They can carry it all the way to the closing table. That raises your standard of service because it gives you flexibility to do things like Kevin just did. You can add value to the overall estate by using your contractor's cash reserves, and he gets compensated for that because he'll put a 10% premium on the invoice and slap a mechanic's lien on the house. But that's one example of, find a contractor who runs his business like a business, and he'll add value to your business just by giving you more creative solutions to provide to your clients. Clean out crews, another example. The best way to find a clean out crew that's already been vetted is just go to the top REO agent in your market. Focus on like the listing agents who do a lot of work with HUD and Fannie Mae. Typically they have a framework that people have to work within. They don't get paid immediately. They have to carry insurance. So if you've got property preservation crews working for HUD or Fannie Mae REO agents, then they're pretty much vetted. Just try to make contact with them, and they're used to working within a system. They do have insurance, and they probably are pretty professional. That's why they're working with that agent. Otherwise, they would have, let them go a long time ago.
Perfect.
But like I said,
and for some reason, for some reason he dropped out of the queue. I hope he heard that whole answer. But go ahead. Go ahead, Chad. You want to finish up?
Anyway, that was just to tie that up. Like I said, we do have that in long form in Mastery. I'll show you the places to find them and the tricks and exactly what you're looking for and what to avoid.
Perfect. Now we have 5 more in the queue, guys. It looks like we're going to go a little bit over, but I'm going to close the queue now so we don't keep you too much past the hour. Next up is phone number ending in 8877. You're up next.
Hey, it's Scott in Orlando. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. How you doing,
All
Scott?
right. Hey, I'm good. How are you, Jim?
Great.
So good week. I took a listing. I was able to refer a client out to a trust attorney, and I got a referral back in return. But the one that I did refer is a really sticky one. The PR's in California is his sister, and some local guy here in Orlando went by and had her sign a lien to put him on the title. And the way it's written is that it gets better. Whoever dies first, the brother or this guy, the other guy gets the property. So the brothers tried to reach out to this guy to say, hey, we'll work something out, buy my half, let's sell it and split it. And then apparently this guy has done this to several elderly people over here. So I've turned this over to the attorney, but I mean, is there any resolution?
So my first question is, was it a lien or was it a deed?
He said it was a lien. So like I said, I figured it was better for me to get him with the attorney at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a real estate attorney. I'm not aware of any lien that would actually transfer ownership rights upon death. Like that is a deed function, not a lien function.
Okay.
A lien is an encumbrance, but it doesn't transfer rights of ownership. So you first need to better understand what was signed, and you can do that by going to the courthouse. I mean, whoever the crook is should be smart enough to record whatever he's getting signed. It sounds like to me they're actually signing like maybe a quit claim, or they're signing a different deed type that gives them rights of survivorship. Right. Either way, I would make sure that the attorney gets the state attorney general involved. I would want to put this under a magnifying glass.
Yeah, because this apparently he's done it several times. So, I didn't know if he was going in and doing work for no pay on the, for these people, and then placing a lien. But you're right, there's ownership issues here, not necessarily just collecting for whatever work was done.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that will go slap mechanic liens on properties, but you can't take control of the property with liens like that. And that I've actually heard of that in Florida too, Jim. I think you covered one of those instances. But I mean, what you're talking about is next level fraud. I mean, or deception.
Scott, we had a guy down here for years. Every property that had went into foreclosure, had any kind of a judgment filed against it, he'd go slap a $5,000 mechanics lien on it, even though he hadn't done anything. And then when it got to close, he'd settle for $500 or $1,000 because it was easier for people to pay him than to fight about it. But, hopefully he ended up in jail. I don't know what happened to him. But Chad is right. Report something like that right away to the Attorney General. They take that stuff. If you got a good Attorney General, they take, especially preying on the elderly, they take that pretty seriously. So, you may be able to... Yeah. Oh, yeah. You may be able to prevent them from doing it to somebody else. So, What's that?
Sorry, go ahead. I said it's too bad the good old days are gone. Yeah, it's too bad the good old days are gone. Taking him out behind the woodshed might serve the same purpose.
Yeah, don't challenge him to a shootout. It's probably not worth it. But
well, we're in Florida, so everybody has at least one gun. So
exactly. Yeah, let us know how that turns out. Really. Yeah. All right, buddy. Thanks. All right. Take care. 4 more in the queue. Next up is 5564. Edwina, are you there? 5564, Edwina, if you're there, you go. I can hear you now. You there?
Okay, yes, I unmuted myself, so now you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm in the North Dallas-Fort Worth area in a great little town called Flower Mound. And my question is about calling on the attorneys, and I know there's a lot of different things, Chad, that you've done, and I've listened to a lot of them. I haven't sat down and listened to it word for word, which is probably what I should do. However, in the last 2 weeks, I've gone and gone into the offices of about 11 different attorney offices that have done multiple probates in my area, and I'm getting the legal assistant or the receptionist, because typically the attorney has not been in, and I was doing these calls between about 11 and 3 on Tuesday and Wednesday, most of them of this week. And so my question is, what is the follow-up? I mean, I went in with my trifold brochure, and I was able to tell the person, the gatekeeper, if you will, this is, my services take up where you leave off. And so we would talk about that a little bit. I said what I'd like is 15 minutes of the attorney's time to see how we can help each other so that you're not the one meeting the plumber at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, because I'm sure that's not what you do. So what do you take in and follow up with? I'm not the donut type person. I mean, that just doesn't feel right for me to take into the office. Maybe they would appreciate it. I just think it's a little weird. So what other kinds of items of value or something could be taken in for them in addition to that brochure?
Take them something that helps them grow their business. So take them a list of friends, family, past clients that you want to, have sit down and discuss their options for an estate plan. Take them the opportunity to sit down and create a checklist with you that they're going to brand at the bottom, and you're going to mark it for them as an attachment to each of the letters you send out. So every single family in probate that's feeling the pain will have the opportunity to have a checklist, which is something valuable to them. And at the bottom, your attorney's information is right there. So if they don't have an attorney and they figure out they're in over their head, they can call that person. If they don't want to go through this again, they've got that attorney's information. So go in and offer them something of value to their business, not to their stomach. And you're right, like it's cookies and donuts can be effective, but showing them how they can work less and make more money is how you really get to an attorney's attention. So, those are just a couple of ideas, like take them referrals, have the referrals ready and open the door with that. offer to do some sort of co-marketing with them. Like, listen, we know that you aren't legally allowed to go get the data from the courthouse and market to them, but we know that you are allowed to be on our pieces because you provide value to our clients. And I need to talk to the attorney, and no disrespect to you, but this is an agreement between two businesses, and I need to talk to the decision maker. So when would be a good time for me to come back when he would have just 15 minutes? And if that message is getting through, the attorney is going to take that appointment. The other thing, so I forgot, there was one more thing that I meant to add, and it's gone away. I had one more point that I wanted to make, but I've lost it.
Okay, because I did set an appointment with one attorney, and it's tomorrow morning, and I had an appointment last week with an attorney group, and even I reached out, I was asking my title company attorney a question related to a file, and I said, wait a minute, by the way, does your firm handle probates? And who in your office does that? So he did a whole very nice introductory email to the two people in his office that do, and they've both actually already responded back this morning. And I've already responded back to them going, hey, when would you have 15 minutes for us to sit down so I can tell you a little bit more about what it is I do? But then, like just the follow-up calls, I guess it's just following up and just saying, hey, just wanted to touch base, see, would they have 15 minutes this week? What does their schedule look like?
The other thing you can do, Edwina, is go to the source of where they network and where they get their information and ideas. You can become an affiliate member of the state bar and go to their meetings. You can become an affiliate member of the Council of Estate Planners, your local chapter. You can become an affiliate member of the public administrator groups or fiduciary groups. I don't know if that exists in your area, but those are three groups, professional groups, where these folks come together to share information just like we are here today. How do we make more money with less effort? That's what they're there for. And if you can go to those groups with good ideas of how they can do that and you can provide value to them, then you're gonna have one hell of a good reputation. Like if you can find a way to teach a room full of estate planning attorneys something they don't already know, and it could be a marketing loophole where you offer them the ability to market through you or co-market with you. It could be statistical, like probate in your area. Just use your head. Like that's where it becomes really beneficial. The better you understand your probate process, the better you'll be at spotting opportunities where you can make things more efficient or more economical for your clients, but also for your partners. So the other thing is, look at those groups and what you can do there to provide value. And maybe that's just speaking. Maybe it's standing on stage and saying, you know what, there's a new industry. This is a social enterprise that I've started right here in our community, and I thank you for giving me the ability to talk about it today. So where this started for me was with empathy. I looked in our community and I saw that equity was being lost and hundreds of millions of dollars of equity lost in the state of Texas every year because there wasn't a proper solution to help families overcome some of these challenges, the non-legal challenges. You guys are all here to learn how to more efficiently handle the legal aspects of probate. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to do everything else, and here's how we do it. And it's, just explain your business model to the room. And as an affiliate member, they probably are looking for somebody to get on stage that has something new and fresh to say. So if you can just get up there and share your vision, that might be enough to connect you with every attorney in the room for the rest of your career.
Good job working them, though, Edwina. Please keep coming back, share your results with us. Appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. And we are going to go 5 or 10 minutes over, guys. The queue is now closed. The next up is phone number ending in 7770. You're up next.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Susan, and I'm in Northern California. I have a question about, I was starting to call on my first set of leads, and I ran into a record where the PR was listed, and so I reached out to that person. She called me back after Chad's strong message. It was really great. So that worked perfectly. Thank you, Chad. And then she said that she wasn't really the PR or at least she didn't really state that, but what I ended up finding was she filed something with the courthouse requesting a hearing for a petition for accounting return of trust assets, which means she's just looking to see how they spent their money. And after this conversation with her, she said that, you know, the family has, the personal property is all gone and it's been donated. So she wanted an accounting of it. So how is that happening? And should I go to the courthouse and really track down the records on that and read for myself what's happening? Or could you give me some kind of guidance on what I should do? She said her brother is actually the PR. It kind of sounded like.
So I just want to make sure I understand. You said there's a trust?
Well, I don't know. Well, it said on the paperwork, or she told me that, or actually, I looked it up in the courthouse records, and it said on it, petition for accounting return of trust assets.
Yeah, the probate clerk is going to be a good place to start. What it sounds like may be happening is they had a trust that was improperly funded or impartially not fully funded, so they forgot to put some of the assets in the trust. So they actually have a trust, but they also have to go through probate, and that's unfortunately really common. And even in your area, as many attorneys as there are and as much money as they charge, it happens. John, the attorney that that we did the video with last week, if you haven't seen that, he's in your area, and he has literally hundreds of millions of dollars of horror stories where families have lost money because of mistakes like the oversights like this.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Okay.
Either way, probate has been filed, and if she's not, you know, if she's listed as a personal representative, maybe she was in the beginning, and maybe she abdicated that to her brother. But if you can get contact to the brother through her, then he should be able to. You know, if you can make contact with the brother, he'll give you the short version of the story, I'm sure. And he's a decision maker anyway, so you can move forward with him. So I would, you know, you can spend some time with the probate clerk, but I would try the brother first. If he,
so
you know,
if she's telling me that the family is fighting over the estate, it sounds like they're not in. There's 3 of them in this process, and they're not in good speaking terms. Should I go around her, even though she's the one that's filed for this accounting, and go around her and try and reach
you should go through
brother?
her, and you could say, you know, unfortunately, in our line of business, we see a lot of humans behave sometimes irrationally, and it's unfortunate, but what we found is with the right mediator and the right professional in between, we can help everybody reach their goals where they know they probably won't ever get there trying to work together because communication is broken down. So if it's okay with you, I would like to talk to your brother. I'll leave you out of it for now, but once I understand the situation, then I'll understand how I can help you guys. So would it be okay if you shared his cell phone number with me? And she might not give it to you. She may be, you know, too hurt to do that. But, and this is advice I gave somebody, I think yesterday, like in these types of situations, you know, you need to make sure that none of the people feel like you're taking their side or the other person's side. So when you make contact with the brother, be like, listen, I spoke to your sister. We did not go very deep in the conversation. I just got your phone number. Because if he's really raw from whatever happened and he identifies you as her real estate agent or the person working with her, then you've already lost, right? So you have to get rapport with him. So you don't want to paint the picture that you have this great relationship with her, and maybe you even throw her under the bus and say, you know, listen, I'm not sure what your sister has done to you, but she did give me the phone number, so that's one thing good she's done for you this week, if there's nothing else. Have you got 10 minutes to talk? And just, you know, set the stage for you're building a relationship with him. And then you can always go back and mediate. And it's a little bit of, you know, play a little bit of good cop, bad cop. But a lot of times you can, and I'm trying to remember who it was, in the last couple months, somebody had one of these stories where it was 3 siblings. They were all fighting, and this person stepped in, they became a mediator, and they not only did they get the deal done and get the estate what it needed, they brought the siblings back together. So
sweet.
they're, you know, getting in the middle and communicating one-to-one individually eventually ended up with everybody sitting at the closing table and reconnecting for the first time in years. So these can be more work. They can also be really rewarding. And in Northern California, it's probably worth the work because your commission is going to be probably 30 grand at a minimum, right?
Quite a bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting part is I did try to go down that path with her, and she was quite forthcoming about the situation. She did say that she did have an attorney and she did have a mediator, and I do have her brother's phone number thanks to the list that you gave me. So that was wonderful. Thank you. But I just don't want to, like you say, backstab her to go around her to go talk to her brother if you feel like that's not the right approach.
I don't think you're backstabbing her. He's the one with the authority.
Okay.
So he's the one you should be talking to, and she helped you find that out, but you don't owe her for that. It's just a fact. Like, it's not like, it's not like you helping him do his job and get the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. There's in no way does that harm her. It only helps her. And she may not see it that way because a lot of times egos flare, and it's like anything positive that happens is against me because he's an asshole. And but if you go do the positive thing and help him, when she gets a check in her hand, her ego will probably, that might put out those flames. And quite honestly, I'll say this, these situations, if there are other attorneys and mediators involved that aren't estate planning attorneys, they're litigation attorneys, this can go on for years. And in your state, it can go on for 5 to 10 years. Some of these things drag out because no one wants to give. Everybody's, they're typically affluent people with big egos that aren't communicating, and it becomes like a divorce situation, and these things can drag on forever. So just don't be afraid to cut and run. Don't spend too much time on this because if you can step in and help and people are being reasonable, that's one thing. But if you're getting yourself lodged in the middle of litigation to get a listing 5 years from now, it's just going to cost you opportunities because it's going to be an energy suck.
Yeah, I see that. Excellent. Thank you so much, Chad.
Thank you. Next up, we have 2 more in the queue, guys. We're going to try to get you out of here in the next 5 or 6 minutes. Roger, you're up next.
Well, afternoon, everybody. I was asked to come on today and share a story that I shared yesterday at the role play call, and that was essentially a story of finding a value. The language that I've used that has been very effective is funding the estate instead of giving you the maximum return or the highest return or the highest net sale price. So just funding the estate, using that term for both the PR and the attorney. And the attorney really kind of pays attention to when you say fund the estate, because when I talk to him, I said I'm funding the estate because that's you can have the billable hours come out of it, and attorneys will then really help you get to what needs to be done. I had something occur just recently, and that was a couple of houses in the estate that I went in and I had the attorney and the PR come in and look. We walked through them, and what I noticed was that there were just a few things that needed to be fixed on it, and they were ready to and had offers for about half of the price on it. And I said to them, I think that these houses will pass an FHA inspection. Need to fix that window over there and give it a good cleaning on that one, and on this one we need to fix this part of the floor. And it turns out to be something under $5,000 to fix 2 houses where they had like $60,000 offers on each one of the houses. We wound up doubling that from on a return and funding the estate, and we funded it at about $200,000 on that, because the perspective that I was bringing was It's not going to take much to get these things fixed and turned around, and we can fund the estate. As it turns out, the attorney thought I was the big hero, and he sent me some divorce work, and he's also there was other properties not in my area on the other side of the state that was really some challenging, and he was really worried how he was going to get paid. And the executors, all the heirs were really pleased with that. And I added each one of the heirs to my sphere of influence, and I mail to them regularly and monthly. I'm also adding to my sphere of influence the attorneys that I work with, and I'm mailing to them on a monthly basis, just kind of a short note or a postcard, just keeping in touch with each one of them and making regular phone calls, because I'm now recognized by the attorney on what I do for him. That's about my 5 minutes, isn't it?
You got it, buddy. Thank you very much for coming back, Roger. We said yesterday you do the best job. Roger's been with us for over 5 years now, and he does the best job with squeezing the most business out of with the fewest leads of anybody I've seen. He gets, what do you get, 20 leads a month, 20 or 30 at the most, Roger?
That's about right, about 30 leads a month.
Yeah, and he turns everybody he meets on every deal into a friend and builds a sphere of influence that way. So thanks a lot for sharing, Roger. Appreciate it. Keep coming back.
God bless.
Last up today on what may be our longest call, thank you for your patience, is phone number ending in 1020. You're up last.
Howdy, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can hear you great.
Cool. I'm a wholesaler, and I'm having a rough time getting good, decent, half decent even leads. And one of my colleagues recommended that I take a look at doing some pocket listings. He said that he's had some fairly decent luck with them, and he knows a couple of guys, one in particular, an agent that's getting 60% of his business from pocket leads. So I was just wondering, what kind of feedback you can give me on those, if they're good to go after, or if not, spend any time on.
You're saying the agent has off-market listings that they're promoting?
My colleague, he's not an agent, but he was telling me that he's works with a few agents that have pocket listings, that give him pocket listings, I should say, and it seems to work out pretty well overall.
Yeah, I mean, and any off-market inventory is great. You know that there's limited competition on those, so I would get on his buyer's list as quickly as possible.
Okay, so you're saying it should be a good avenue to pursue then?
Sure, and I've done that, like, just so you understand, like with as a listing agent, if I didn't want to buy a home and I didn't want to wholesale it, if I wanted to do it through my license, I would just simply sign a listing agreement with a full MLS opt-out, and then I would put in some additional terms that the seller has requested property not be marketed online or be part of any MLS. And then that helps me not get in hot water with my MLS. The seller has the choice. And then I would just simply run that out through my buyer's list. And then when a buyer raised their hand, I would fill out the paperwork, and page 1 would be an unrepresented party addendum saying, listen, I'm not going to charge you a buyer's commission, and because you're savvy, you're not going to have representation in this transaction. So the listing agent is probably doing just that, so they get both sides of the commission. So if they're listing, rather than put a house out there on MLS and have to split the commission 50-50, they're opting it out of MLS, shopping it to their own book of investors. And as long as they are, doing the right thing for their seller, as long as that's getting them the most amount of money, then it's completely ethical. I knew that I didn't have to deal with BS offers on MLS from people who were just making 20 offers a day, because I had already vetted my cash buyers list. I knew who the serious buyers were. And this was back to that conversation with a wholesaler last night. Because my database, my buyers were segmented, I usually only had to make 1 to 2 phone calls to sell a house. And even still, like in May, the night before I went to Nepal, I sold a portfolio of 12 rental houses with 2 text messages. I texted 2 people. So if that sounds like that agent might get it, and they might, they understand the investor side of the business, and they know how to serve their clients ethically and make their life a lot easier by just going direct to the vetted buyers. So I would want to be on that guy's list.
And we lost him. He looks like he maybe our call timed out. I'm not sure, but I hope that helped. Thank you so much, guys. We had very few people drop off. This is one of our longest calls ever. We really try to keep it at an hour, but we had such great participation today. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody who actively participated, and I want to end this call like I always do. You heard some great ideas today, some great techniques, stories. Take one idea, one thing that inspired you today, go out and put it into practice, and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday.